Hello guys, welcome back to my channel as told by Muriel. Some of you may know I am Muriel. I am a registered nurse of 1 year. Prior to, I was a licensed practical nurse of 18 years. I want to be discussing a little bit of entertainment, nursing, some travel. Of course, when all of this is over, I plan to do some traveling. Today, I want to talk about this whole pandemic that's going on. As you can see, I am dressed in my scrubs. I am in a few minutes about to head out to work. I work here in Columbia, South Carolina at a level 1 trauma facility. I work on a medical surgical tele floor. On my floor, we have had, can't say the word, so I'm just going to say we have had patients who have tested positive. Um, for this current pandemic that is going on. I have worked with patients who have tested positive. I just want to give a general feel of what's going through my mind when I'm working with these patients. The first time I worked with them, I can tell you I had a little bit of, I had a little bit of anxiety, but it was during that time when no one really knew what was going on. No one knew much about this virus. We didn't really know how it was being spread. There were some talks of droplet. There were some talks of airborne. It was going back and forth. Definitely contact. That's one thing we did know. We didn't know how bad it was going to hit. We saw what was, we saw the news and everything and got reports of what was going on in China, but you know how sometimes it's like out of sight, out of mind. It's not going on in this country. And slowly we saw that they had some cases. I believe it was in Washington, some positive people who were confirmed positive. It started in a long-term care facility there in Washington, and quickly it spread. It became all across the United States. It had already been in other countries. Now it's actually I believe, a worldwide pandemic. I think there was some talk of maybe there was one country that hasn't been affected yet. I'm not sure. All travel has been banned, which really did something to me because I actually was planning a London trip for the summer. I was looking forward to that. I wasn't real vocal about it. Some people knew, but I was in the planning stage. Well, that's cut off. That's null and void now. So, anywho, yeah. So my general feeling when I go to work, like I said, my first day that I had to work, we didn't really know. So I was a little like anxiety setting because I was like, it spreads so fast in China. We all know, well, some of you may not know, but China is very heavily populated. It's one of the most heavily populated countries in the world, and it could, just be contact. And I didn't see it being too much droplet because I would think once the first, I'd say maybe hundreds of cases, you would think people would wear gloves. They would not touch things, not rub their eyes, rub their nose, things like that. Any open orifices for to transmit the virus, and it spread so quickly there. And then once it hit the United States, it was spreading so quick. I was like, this got to be an airborne virus. This, you know. I can understand droplet, maybe, but I was like, this got to be airborne. And I was reading some different little articles, and some articles say it lasts in the air up to like 3 hours. Um, some have said they have found like the spores. I think they're spores. I'm not a microbiologist, so I believe they're called spores. Um, in like air ducts outside of negative pressure rooms in facilities. A negative pressure room is a room that lets the air circulate only in that room. It doesn't let the air go out of that room. So if someone has an airborne illness such as tuberculosis, the air just circulates in that room and it doesn't let that air come out into the hallways and things like that. And so I was like, if it's being found outside of the rooms in the vents, then it has to, this has to be an airborne thing. These patients need to be in negative pressure rooms. Of course, initially patients who were suspected, they weren't being put in negative pressure rooms because we were just having them under like droplet precautions, and it didn't take long. They started putting them in negative pressure rooms. They classify them as PUI, which is person under investigation, and suspected and positive. At first, it seemed like it was taking days for the test results to come back. They would test a patient and it would be like 2-3 days before the results come back. Now, I don't know what's going on. They have tests that seem to be coming back within hours. I don't know if it's the different tests they're using or the different locations or whoever doing the testing makes a difference or whatever. But as a nurse who has to work with these patients, I'm gonna say I could quit my job. But I have to work. I have to provide for my family. There's no guarantee that if I go in another setting, there's not going to be positive patients there. So I have to work with the patient. Well, I'm not going to say not have to. Um, if you have a pre-existing condition, they kind of take that into account, and they try not to place that nurse and with those patients. But I have worked with positive patients who had results came back positive. Um, I have the anxiety initially, but once you get going and you start working, all anxiety just leaves me, and I just, I plan out. We do this thing called cluster care, which all the care that you need to give the patient, you try to go ahead and give it while you're in the room. So we cluster care, like I'll time my meds so that I'm giving, I'm not having 8 p.m. meds and 10 p.m. meds. No, all my meds are getting grouped together at 9 p.m. As long as they can be given together, they're going to be all given together at 9 p.m. I'm going to go in there at 9 p.m. I'm going to give them their meds. If it's in a patient that is incontinent, I'm going to go give them their meds. I'm going to do their ADL care. I'm going to do their vital signs. I'm going to do everything at one time. Most of the patients are set up, just about all the patients are set up to a continuous pulse ox, which is a machine that lets us know their oxygen level, the oxygen level in their bloodstream, and it'll alert you when whatever you set it to. But ours are normally set to alert when a patient drops below 90%. So where I work, they weren't assigning the nurses more than 4, I believe, patients at a time. I've never had over 3, but they weren't assigning nurses more than 4. And we have a site manager who sits outside the door who makes sure that you doffs and don on your PPE. Is a don and doff, which is take on and take off your PPE, personal protective equipment, in the correct order, and are putting it on in the correct order. So I go in the patient's room, I do everything, I try to get it all out the way in that one time. I get their vitals, I do their ADL care if they're incontinent. If they're not incontinent, if they need the urinal empty, I go ahead and do that. I try to take a bag of ice in there with me so that they don't have to worry about ice water. I try to do everything at one time. Once I leave out that patient's room, they're trying to not have us not enter the room constantly, as to protect ourselves from contracting it. And so I do everything I can when I'm in there around 9 o'clock, between 9 and 9:30. Well, 9 and 9:45. I try to go in all 3 of my rooms. And then I sit, which is probably not the best idea. My rooms are normally in an area, like in a row. So I sit back there in that area with my computer. Every room has a computer inside for you to do all your charting and do everything you need to do. But I sit in that area with my computer so that I can hear if a pulse ox starts beeping. Because if it starts beeping, that means that patient's oxygen level has dropped below 90%. And I go into the room at that time and check on the patient. But if it doesn't drop below 90%, I kind of just sit in that area and listen out for my patients. Because I get a little nervous with leaving patients. I was never the type of nurse that sits like around the nursing station, because I need to hear what's going on. You never know, there might be a tube feeding beeping, and I don't want a tube feeding beeping for 3 hours and the patient is not getting their tube feeding for 3 hours and I don't hear it because I'm sitting at the nursing station. So I normally sit in the hallway with my patients. There could be an IV that starts beeping. That means an antibiotic or something. It might be some air in the line. They're not receiving the medication if the IV pump is beeping. I need to be able to hear these things. So I sit in that area, and I sit in that area with my patients who have tested positive. And so, like I said, I cluster my care. I go and do everything I need to do. Initially, when it first came about, the nurses did all the care. Like, we drew the blood, as far as getting blood for the lab work. We did all the ADLs. We did the vitals. We did everything for the patient. They tried to limit people going into the room down just to the nurses, the doctor, and respiratory therapist. So it was a lot on the nurses. Like, it was even with, you would think just 3 patients, it wouldn't be a lot, but when you're having to put on all that equipment, each time you go in the room, you're doing all the care, you're drawing the lab work. Then they have a special way that you have to take the lab work down. You have a certain way that you have to take the equipment off in the room. You have to sanitize things in the room. It wears a toll on you. It's very tiring. And after doing it, like, I normally work 2 days. I don't do 3 12s in a row. at the hospital, because and just normally when there's nothing going on, that drains you. So I normally do 2 in a row, take a day or two off, then come back and do my one. But even after just 2 days in a row of doing that, you be so exhausted, so exhausted. um yeah, so I'm going in tonight. I'm about to start my 2 in a row. I don't know what type of patients I'm gonna have. They kind of moved all of the positive patients off my floor, but they've been shipping us. They've been floating us to the floor they designated for the patients who are suspected or positive. And when I worked last at this hospital, I was floated to that floor. It wasn't that bad, but like I said, it's just very tired. It's a little more tiring than if you're working with 6 patients on, and just, in normal circumstances. It's tiring working with just those 3, because you have to do everything. Um, the only time I really got, like, I have a little anxiety. At one point they had the chaplain come around, and I just felt like, oh, that was so depressing. You know, she was talking to the nurses, and I guess some nurses need that. I'm not gonna say I don't need any type of spiritual, but it was kind of depressing to me, because you're already nervous because you're going in dealing with somebody who has this deadly virus, and then you got the chaplain coming around and just making you think more of death. That just was my take on it. I'm a little different. Some people may need that at that particular, like, I don't need that. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you the little feeling for this, for me, because all nurses are not like me. I don't have a problem with working with positive COVID patients. So far, so good, knock on wood. There are nurses and doctors who are getting sick. And I don't look at it just because I'm not sick that it's not happening, but I just try to protect myself at all costs. This do not wear N95s if they're not positive. I'm wearing my N95. I don't care what they say. If they don't want me to wear it, they would just lose a nurse, because I'm not risking my life. Um, Anywho, my camera's probably gonna cut off soon, because I don't know what's going on with this crazy camera. I just wanted to jump in and give you guys a little video, let you know how I'm feeling as a registered nurse working in a level 1 trauma facility during this pandemic. If you like the video, please leave a comment below, or hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I will try my best. No, I'm lying, because I'm not going to get to it, but I'm going to try my best to do 2 videos a week. Normally I'll let you know what the next video is going to be about, but I'm not sure what it's going to be, so just stay tuned in. And like I said, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. My name is Muriel. This is As Told by Muriel, and I hope you guys have a great day. Goodbye.